We've been meeting women who had nothing. Hagar, enslaved, expelled, alone in a desert. Ruth, a foreign widow with nothing but her grief and her loyalty. Hannah, barren, provoked, weeping, and would not eat. Today we meet a woman who had everything: a palace, security, status, access to the most powerful court in the region, a husband with the air of a king. And she left it. Not because she lost it, not because it was taken from her. She chose to leave. She walked away from the palace and onto a dusty road with a traveling teacher from Nazareth. Her name was Joanna, and the Bible gives her exactly 2 verses. But those 2 verses contain one of the most quietly extraordinary choices any woman in the New Testament ever made. This is her diary. Entry 1. The palace. Imagined backstory before Luke chapter 8, verse 3. I want to tell you what I had. Not to boast, but because you need to understand what the road cost me. My husband was Chuza. Chuza was the manager of Herod's household. Do you understand what that means? Not a servant, not a minor official, the manager. The man responsible for the entire administration of Herod Antipas's estate, his finances, his properties, his staff, his affairs. Chuza had access and influence that most men in first century Galilee could only have imagined. And I was his wife. I lived in rooms that had floors. I ate food that was prepared by servants. I wore clothing that was not dusty. I did not wonder where the next meal was coming from. I did not have to worry about bandits on the road. I did not sleep in a tent. I want you to hold that image. And then I want to tell you what happened. I became ill. I will not specify the nature of it. Luke says that Mary Magdalene had 7 demons cast out. Luke lists me among the women who had been cured of evil spirits and diseases. What I will tell you is this: there are conditions that no palace can fix. There are darknesses that no lamp in a fine room can reach. There are things that happen in the body and in the mind and in the spirit that all of Herod's resources cannot touch. I had everything, and I was not well. And then someone came to Galilee, and everything changed. Entry 2. The healing. Luke chapter 8, verses 2 to 3. Imagined interior. I heard about him the way everyone in Herod's court heard about him. Through whispers first, then through louder conversations, then through my husband's concern. A teacher from Nazareth, performing healings, gathering crowds. Herod was paying attention. He would eventually decide that Jesus was John the Baptist risen from the dead, and he was afraid of him. I was curious. I want to be honest, I did not go to Jesus with great faith. I went because I had tried everything else. I had access to the best physicians the region could provide. I had resources to pay for whatever treatment was available. I had a husband who loved me and was desperate to help. But none of it worked. And now there was a man in Galilee who was healing people. I went, and he healed me. I will not overdramatize the moment. I will only tell you what came after. The same thing Mary Magdalene described. Quiet. The return of something I had not had in a long time. The sense of being, in the most precise meaning of the word, restored. I stood there in the quiet of my own healed mind and body, and I looked at Jesus, and I made the same calculation that every rational, resourced, intelligent woman makes when she encounters something real for the first time in her life. I thought, I cannot go back to the palace and pretend this did not happen. I thought, wherever he goes, I need to be there. And then I thought about Chuza, and the palace, and the floor, and the servants, and everything I was about to leave. And I went anyway. Entry 3. Chuza, imagined interior. I need to tell you about my husband, because my story is often told as if I simply disappeared from the palace one day without consequence. I did not. I had a conversation with Chuza. I do not know exactly what was said. The scripture does not record it. But I know that I told him. I know that because I was not a woman who disappears. I am a woman who decides. And when I decide something, I say it out loud. I told him I was healed. I told him who had healed me. I told him I intended to follow Jesus, to travel with him, to support his ministry from our resources. I want you to sit with what I was asking. In first century Jewish society, a woman traveling with a male teacher, leaving her husband's household, going on the road, this was not ordinary. This was not expected. This was not comfortable for anyone. I was asking Chuza to allow something that would raise eyebrows in every circle we moved in Herod's court, among his colleagues, among the people who knew us. I do not know what he said. I just know what happened. I left, which means that either Chuza said yes or he said no, and I went anyway. I have my own opinion about which one it was, but I will leave it there. What I know is that I used our resources, my resources, the ones I brought into the marriage, the ones I had access to as his wife, to support the ministry. Luke says it clearly. We were helping to support Jesus and the 12 out of our own means. My means. From the palace, funding the road. Entry 4. The road. Luke chapter 8, verses 1 to 3. Imagined interior. I wanted to tell you about the first morning. The first morning I woke up on the road instead of in the palace. My back ached from the ground. My feet were already sore. The food was simple. The company was not what I was used to. Fishermen, a tax collector, women from various backgrounds, none of them moving in circles I had moved in. All of them, every single one, changed by the same thing that changed me. An encounter with Jesus. I lay there on that first morning looking up at the sky, and I thought about the palace, the floor, the servants, the food, the comfort. And then I thought about the quiet that came after the healing, the quiet that was still there, following me, surrounding me, even on the ground, even with an aching back, even surrounded by fishermen. And I thought I would do it again. Every morning for the rest of my life, I would make this choice again. Because what I had in the palace was comfort. What I had on this road was life. I had thought in my palace days that security was the most valuable thing. I had learned in one encounter that security without wholeness is just a well-furnished prison. I was free. For the first time in a long time, I was genuinely, quietly, backache and all, free. Entry 5, the resurrection morning. Luke chapter 24, verse 1 to 10. I was one of the women who went to the tomb early on the first day of the week. We brought spices. We had prepared them. We had observed where he laid. I had been at the crucifixion. I will not write about that now. Some griefs are far too large for pages. What I will tell you is what we found. The stone rolled away, the tomb empty, 2 men in gleaming clothes telling us he had risen. Why do you look for the living among the dead? They asked. He is not here. He is risen. Remember how he told you? And I did remember. I remembered every teaching on that road, every meal, every healing I had watched, every conversation in the evening when the crowds had gone. I remembered. Then we went back to the 11. We told them everything. Luke records who we were: Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary, mother of James, and the others. Luke wrote my name in the resurrection account, the wife of Chuza, Herod's household manager, the woman who had left the palace, there at the tomb in the resurrection. The disciples thought it was nonsense. They did not believe us. But Peter ran to the tomb anyway, and the story did not stop. Stories like this never stop. They just keep going, like a road that turns out to lead somewhere you never imagined. Joanna is named twice in the Gospel of Luke. Once when she joins the group following Jesus, once at the resurrection tomb. 2 appearances. She left a palace to walk dusty roads. She used her resources to fund a ministry that would change the world. She was at the cross. She was at the tomb. She was one of the first to hear about the resurrection. She ran to the disciples. She is in the story at every stage. Not because she was the most dramatic, not because she had the most desperate past, because she chose, eyes open, with full knowledge of what she was leaving, with full access to every comfort that could have kept her home. She chose the road. If you are a woman who has everything the world says should make you happy, and something in you knows it is not enough, Joanna sees you. The palace is not the problem. The wholeness is the question. And the wholeness is not found in fine rooms. It is found on roads, with dusty feet and an aching back and a quiet inside you that no palace ever gave you. And in the end, your name in a story that is still being told over 2,000 years later. If Joanna's story spoke to you, subscribe and share it. Until next time, on Diary of a Biblical Woman.